If you've played The Witcher 3, there's a good chance you know this game has an absurd amount of references and Easter eggs. I mean, sometimes they're one right after the other. The developers are just so informed, what can I say? But a fraction of these references, they do make up nods and hints at some of our favorite movies, and I wanted to focus on the ones that I thought were some of the best. So today, I will be listing 5 movie references in The Witcher 3. Let's get into it. Starting off with number 5, we have a reference to Django Unchained. You can find this during the quest, A Deadly Plot. That's actually one of the secondary quests in Novigrad. There's a part where you have to track down someone's missing contact. He's a spy who's pretending to be a shoe cobbler. So you go out into the forest and you find his wagon, an odd-looking wagon with shoes dangling off of it, but the design might look familiar. It mimics the one in Django Unchained. It's driven by Dr. Schultz. Actually, you first see this right in the opening scene. It's got this big wacky tooth on the top that's flopping around on a spring, and then on the side, the logo for his business. It's got the text wrapping around the main icon in sort of an oval fashion. It's the same for the one you find in-game. It's got this silly, oversized shoe on the top, and then on the sides, the design is the same way. Now, in addition to this, the contact that you end up finding, a man named Thaler, he's actually a spy who just happens to be posing as a cobbler. Well, the same as with Dr. Schultz. He's actually a bounty hunter, but he's just posing as a dentist, and they both plan on killing a lot of people. I guess there's just something about having a wagon that makes you look more legitimate. Oh, actually, maybe I should stop going to that ice cream truck in my neighborhood. Number 4, we actually have 2 right next to each other. These are a reference to both A Knight's Tale and Fight Club. You can find them at the end of the quest, Fists of Fury Novigrad. The final person that you have to fight is a man named Durden the Tailor. And the first thing he says to you is this.
You've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found scrawny. In what world could you possibly defeat me?
Well, this is very similar to the line, you've been weighed, you've been measured, and you've been found wanting. And that's said a lot in the movie A Knight's Tale. Count Adhemar says it multiple times to William as a way of, sort of getting inside his head, trying to confirm that he doesn't have what it takes to defeat him in a jousting tournament. The same can be said about Durden, who's trying to intimidate you so that you don't win this fist-fighting competition. Then, going back to the name of this character, it's Durden the Tailor. Well, switch that around a bit. It sounds very similar to Tyler Durden. He's one of the main characters in the movie Fight Club. He is, of course, responsible for starting up the first Fight Club, and then it becomes so popular that more of them start popping up all across the country. Well, Tyler doesn't shy away from a fight, and he's often bashing at people until they're bloody. The same can be said about Durden the Tailor, who's won enough of these fights to be the current champion of Novigrad. So if you want to change that, you're going to have to knock him out. Although I will say, Durden the Tailor doesn't really look a whole lot like Tyler Durden. Sorry, mate. Number 3, we have a reference to The Hobbit, and you can actually find this very early on in the game. Once you get to White Orchard Village, if you go down a bit, you'll find a dwarf named Willis. His workshop has just recently been burned down by someone else in the village, but he doesn't know who it is, so while you're asking him about it, he'll eventually say,
Nilfgaardians don't pay me a bloody copper. Just give me supplies and orders. Humans can't fathom that. They think I'm getting rich off their misfortune. That I sleep on a pile of gold like a ploughing dragon.
So when he says sleep on a pile of gold like a ploughing dragon, well, this is a reference to The Hobbit, more specifically to the character of Smaug himself, who plays a much bigger role in the second movie, The Desolation of Smaug. This is a very powerful dragon who's been described as the greatest of the dragons of his day. The thing is, he's incredibly greedy and he loves to relish in his own wickedness. This is why he actually went on to attack the dwarf kingdom of Erebor. He'd heard of its great treasures. So many gold coins he could lay in them like a bed. So he took the place over and has been living there for over 100 years. And when Bilbo Baggins arrives, he practically stumbles over him and wakes him up in the process. But going back to Willis, he doesn't get to live like Smaug. He doesn't get to sleep on a pile of gold. And the irony shouldn't be lost either that his whole place was burned to the ground. No, not by a dragon, but by a serpent of sorts. Number 2, we have a reference to Gladiator. Oh, I love this movie so much when I was a kid. But in the story, we have the main character, Maximus Meridius. And what he goes through is harrowing. He was a general of the Roman army who refused to give allegiance to Lucius Commodus. This was a man who murders his own father for the title of emperor. Well, because of this, Commodus has him punished. Guards are sent to capture Maximus and then execute him, and then more guards are sent to his home to take care of his family. It's there they hang his wife and son. He ends up escaping execution, actually, making it back to his home where he then sees them dead for his own eyes. It's certainly a powerful way to start the movie. But In The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine expansion, there's a character very similar to this. If you go to the Castel di Chia abandoned estate, you'll be set upon by a ghostly knight. This is the spirit of a man named Maximus Nonius Macrinus, and his story is also very similar. He had some kind of feud with a man named Philibert, someone else who was abusing their nobility, and so they wanted him and his family dead. Well, guards stormed the estate, they captured Maximus, and then actually made him watch as they had their way with his wife before hanging both her and his son. You can actually see the nooses still hanging from the tree. The bodies have since been taken down. But after that, they tortured Maximus before killing him right below his family. Yeah, it's really bad stuff. But Maximus and Maximus both found ways of getting revenge. The one in the movie, spoiler, the one in the movie ends up killing Commodus in one-on-one combat, and then is reunited with his family in the afterlife. And then the one here in the game ends up coming back as a spirit and killing the men who killed his family because they decided to come back here looking for treasure. So both stories, they're horrible, but at least now Maximus has returned to the sides of his wife and son. I am talking about Maximus Decimus Meridius. Oh, I love saying that. And number 1, we have a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. If you head to the town of Benwick, you'll be able to pick up a quest called The Truth is in the Stars, and this is going to lead you down to a cave to look for Dragon's Root. But when you get to the front of it, a horrifying scene plays out indeed. Piles of bones and skulls, cracked and chipping, sitting in pools of blood. And standing over the mess is one white rabbit. A killer rabbit, perhaps. And no matter what I did, it didn't seem bothered. I could be swinging at it, trying to blow it away with my holy hand. Ard sign. And nothing. The creature just danced around me. Mysterious and fearsome. Well, this is, of course, a reference to the killer rabbit of Caer Bannog. This is in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. King Arthur and his knights are trying to get past it, but what they thought was just a little harmless woodland critter is actually a terrifying monster. It decapitates one of their men and then injures most of them when they try to outnumber it, which is unsuccessful and they have to retreat. The bones! Did they not pay attention to the bones? But it continues. Later on, they do make it inside, but they're attacked by yet another monster, the Black Beast of... The rabbit outside was just serving as the gatekeeper for this place. Well, in The Witcher 3, it's the same way. You go inside and you're not attacked by one beast, actually, but a pack of them, ghouls. So the rabbit outside must have just been their guardian. Although I will say, when I went back outside, the rabbit was gone, vanished. I even tried looking around the cave, up the hill, nothing. Yeah, some other hares, sure, but not the infamous white one. Wherever it's going next, death and destruction await. And there you have it, 5 movie references in The Witcher 3. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And down below, please tell me, is there another one you would add to this list? Alright, thank you very much for watching. And actually, I'm reminded I have to go watch Django Unchained again, man. Oh, Christoph Waltz kills that role.
The state places a bounty on a man's head. I track that man, I find that man, I kill that man. After I've killed him, I transport that man's corpse back to the authorities. Sometimes that's easier said than done.